You are listening to Unity in Our Community on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
I have a special guest today, Lisa. We were just having a bit of a laugh, weren't we? Lisa is from Do No Harm Wales. So welcome back to this third part. Me, Jessie Grace. And I was listening to that weather. I was like, why is it 18 degrees? It's nearly Halloween. Like, hello? Do you not think that with this weather sometimes? I'm just like wandering around. I can't even put my jacket on. So warm, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, we've been talking all about your story, and we did hear like quite you went through quite an intense time, but we were also talking about, you know, the positive side to come out of it. So if we just go back to where we were, because you said there's a bit more to your story, there's still a bit longer. So if you weren't listening before, Lisa was just explaining like a little bit about what her experience was and why she formed Do No Harm Wales, which is to support whistleblowers in the NHS. So what was the other bit that we haven't discussed that was about your story? You said it still went on a little bit further after that.
Yeah, so I went back to my normal unit, and I could see that I was being set up and I was working very, very long hours. My diary was being messed around with, and at the same time, because I was the most senior of the middle grade doctors, a lot of the doctors and nurses were coming to me with problems, and I think that kind of just reflects the fact that they didn't feel safe going through the normal channels. There was a failure in communication, and after about 6 months, I was, if I say I was set up, I don't know if I was set up, but there was a situation that happened, and one person told me to do one thing, or another person told me to do another thing, and basically at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what's happening, I'm just going to do the safe thing for my patients, which is what I did. And it triggered another professional malpractice investigation. But I wasn't told what I was being investigated for around about 6 months. So I had to just kind of get on with life, doing my job. But I wasn't told what I was being investigated about. So that was a bit sort of Kafka-esque, really. And then I heard, and it was again just like silly stuff, apart from this case that, you know, there were two seniors that had told me to do different things, and I'd done what I regarded as the safe thing, but I'd in the process of doing something safe, I'd undermined one of them. I was in a catch-22 situation.
Yeah, that sounds very narcissistic, like the double bind, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Absolutely. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very complicated.
Very complicated.
Yeah.
I was then under investigation for, I think, around about 3 years. So I was in and out of meetings. They were trying to find an investigator and set up a formal, because it was very formal. I was on quite a high level of malpractice. So they were trying to find an official investigator, and this just kept on going backwards and forwards between the BMA and the health board. And in the meantime, you know, there were times when I was being screamed at, and I actually felt unsafe for my physical health on a couple of occasions because the threatening body language of other members of staff.
Wow.
I was told to resign. So it got pretty hairy, and I think by this point, on the back of being kept in professional solitary confinement, I'd got a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, and so there were times when I was off sick because, you can imagine I'm trying to see my patients and be safe with my patients, but at the same time, like there were times that I would be throwing up on the way to work because I just couldn't cope with this.
It sounds horrific.
It was.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the worst times of my life.
Yeah. But out of that worst time, you have done something amazing, and you have formed Do No Harm Wales with some other people, and you have formulated a plan to support other people who may be going through similar things, and to obviously help with all these complex issues to try and address some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the 10-point plan, have you got somebody who is, this is obviously your advice to, who's it to?
I think this is our advice as a group of professionals who have been through the whistleblowing cycle in Wales. This would be our wish list that we would like Eluned Morgan and Mark Drakeford to kind of take into consideration. I mean, obviously, we accept that we're not the people that have to organise this and put it into practice, but we do think that it's important to have our voices heard.
Yeah, are your voices being heard by anybody?
Yeah, I think, if I'm being honest, I think things are happening. I've been invited to talk to the group, the steering group. Attend the steering group. We've been asked to go back to Westminster, and my own AM is taking an interest in it. So I can't say we're not being listened to.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's just give your email address out again, which is donoharmwales@gmail.com, all lowercase, yeah?
Yep.
So that's for anyone out there who has been affected by any of the issues we've been talking about today, isn't it? They can get in touch for some support and advice.
Yeah. Do get in contact.
Yeah, so what's next for Do No Harm Wales?
Well, hopefully we'll get a Speak Out programme in Wales, and we'll get the 10-point plan kind of looked at in more detail.
Yeah, so anyone listening can get in touch, can't they? If they think that, they want to support you as well, and, maybe there's some people out there listening who think, oh, I could help with that, or I could get involved, or,
Yeah.
Yeah. But also I wanted to touch on, before we were saying, I've been talking about this with my friend today, happened to be, but you said even though you'd gone through your career and this had happened to you, that obviously something amazing and positive had happened, and now you're passionate about this.
Yeah, and I've been accepted into a community journalism programme, which is how I bumped into you, Jess.
Yeah, big up the twos, East twos.
Yeah, East,
Big up East.
ADEM Media.
And Donna and Caleb and
Yaz. Hi Yaz, if you're listening. So I've been involved with the community journalism project, and so it's been absolutely full on amazing to recreate my career. I hadn't expected this to happen. This was kind of a curveball, but I'm having an absolute ball getting involved with everybody, and they are just totally darlings.
It's exciting though, isn't it? Because what we were really learning was, obviously trying to create solutions-based journalism. So we talk about things like this, and we're not scared, and we try to come up with the solutions. And you have got a very, very solid solution and plan. And do you want to just say quickly what your 10 points are?
I won't go into detail because this goes into quite some detail here. So I'll give our main points is we want to see a freedom to speak up system in Wales, like the rest of the United Kingdom have. Why should we be left behind? We want to see an independent investigation system for all staff and patients involved in NHS investigations. We want to see a different Public Interest Disclosure Act, which is the law. The law is not devolved, but it's covering a devolved area, so that's a bit of complicated stuff. Don't need to worry about it. We want to see a bespoke healthcare plan for all legacy and current whistleblowers. We don't think that they should be seen by their own health board that they whistleblew on. We want a confidential helpline support for staff that are experiencing bullying and racism. We want to see training for whistleblowers and all staff during training, and then induction and mandatory training on whistleblowing. And also on racism. I think I'm going to bring that in, because racism, it didn't start off about racism, but we do see, and it has become part of what we've been campaigning about. We want an ongoing governance programme, which is supervised by an independent organisation, to have a look at all that. And we want a registration of all NHS staff, not just your nurses and your doctors, but we think managers need to be registered as well and regulated. We want a back-to-work rehab programme for whistleblowers, because there's so many people out there and so much experience and good people out there that could have gone back to work and could be helping in our staffing crisis. But we do need specialist help. And we want to see research and audit of everything that goes on needs to be researched and audited to see how it actually pans out.
So you get more feedback.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds incredible. I really wish you the best of luck with that. Like, that just sounds like such a positive thing, because we all use the NHS, we all love the NHS, we want to protect the NHS. I mean, it's a bit under threat, I feel, at the moment. It's a bit underfunded and all those kind of things, wouldn't you say? I mean, also, it's very complicated. I mean, it's good to have someone like you with a lot more knowledge about it, because I think as a patient, you don't really know much, and then like when your loved one goes into the NHS, like it's just systems and systems and systems, and it can be hard to know how it actually, the machine works, so to speak, so it's good to have someone like you've got all that knowledge and experience.
In terms of does the health service need a lot more investment, I probably feel that yes, it does. I wouldn't say that would be the first thing that I would flag up. I think it needs a reorganisation. I think there's too many people, too many chiefs, and not enough Indians.
Yeah, more cooperation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think you could say that about every sector in a way. And a more equal, it is again like touching on things like more equal society, a more holistic society, a more inclusive society, where like these things are just more transparent, and people can go to work, they can do what they love doing, and they cannot get bullied. It's not, I mean,
it's not rocket science, is it?
No. So I'm so glad that we're ending on a positive note there. With your new projects and for Do No Harm Wales. It sounds excellent. And I really hope that you get heard to, and you get to the right people, and people start taking notice, especially people who are in positions of power, to start consulting on implementing like your plan. Yeah, so I really hope that happens for you. But I think it's interesting. I've been thinking about how we go through these big changes in life, like you went through a career change, but it has actually, you've gone through that dark period of time, but in the end, it's come out in a more positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm one of these people that if you ask me to go back, obviously there's a little bit of my heart that is still with all of my lovely patients and all of my lovely colleagues that were, standing up for me, and, my heart is still there a little bit, but I'm not the sort of person that ever goes back. I can only say I go forward, and the whole community journalism thing is where I'm at now, and new day.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hence the radio show. Yeah, maybe we'll have you back again, and we'll do some more news.
I'll look forward to it, and I'll look forward to updating you.
You are listening to Unity in Our Community on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.